Dan, I have learned that as my pickup truck gets older, it becomes more and more fuel efficient.
Is that because you don't drive it anywhere?
No, it's
Oh.
because it gets lighter in weight.
Oh.
Every time I shut one of the car, every time I slam one of the doors shut, I lose about 5 pounds of rusted steel.
Something keeps falling off every time you drive down the road and hit a bump.
Yes, I had a very odd occurrence
Oh.
last week. I made a delivery to a restaurant, and the owner was out there talking with me. And I get unloaded, he pays me, and I head on down the road. Later that day, he texted me a picture of, those little magnetic key boxes, those little plastic boxes that you hide under one of your fenders. They're
Yes.
magnetic and you can
Yes.
hide a key in it.
Yes.
He sent a picture of it and it was laying right where my truck was. And he goes, "I think this fell off your truck." And I says, "Oh, no, it didn't. I never, ever put one of those in my truck. You know, I don't ever lock it and no one's going to steal it because it always has an empty tank of gas." So I says, "No, that's not mine." He says, "It has to be yours. No one else parked your truck here this day and I would have seen it." And I go, "Well," I said, "send a picture of the key and I'll compare it to my key. Maybe it was in the back of my head. The previous owner, I bought it used, had it hidden in there and I never knew about it." So he
Oh.
sent me a picture of the key and it was for a Ford key. It wasn't the one with the chip in it, though. It was just a steel key, like that could open the doors. And I zoomed in on it and held up my key to it, and it was my key. It was a lockbox that was under my truck for how long have I had it now? 7 years or 6 years I've had this truck. So
Wow.
when I was out his way again, I stopped by and picked it up, and he handed me the box, and I turned it over to look at the magnets, and it had the rusted steel still sticking to them. So I don't even know where this box was. I know that it was on my truck somewhere and it had been there. And I picked up a new key to my truck.
And all
What a
this
great
time,
day.
and all this time, if you ever would have been locked out of your truck, you would have had a way
Yeah.
back in, but you didn't even know it.
Oh my gosh. I'd have
Wow.
smashed the window and caused
Yeah.
me $1,000 in repair. But there was a key hidden in the truck somewhere.
You better start looking under all your other fenders and seeing if there's anything else maybe hidden. Maybe you had like
There could be.
a deposit box where you would, put some cash.
Yeah. Or maybe this was previously owned by DB Cooper or whoever that guy was that stole all the money and parachuted out of a plane.
Right.
There
Yeah.
could be thousands shoved up in the fenders of my truck.
An emergency fund, a rainy day fund, stashed
Yeah,
in the pickup.
rusty bills.
Well, that's pretty exciting. That's now you got an
Yeah,
extra key.
yeah,
Wow.
it is. But I was looking at my truck, gosh, those fenders, on the bed, they were once made of steel, and it's just a rusty truck. But man, it runs good,
Well,
and
that's a
the
sign
fuel
that
mileage, the fuel mileage keeps getting better, Dan.
this it's a sign you're busy if your truck keeps getting wore out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a good
yeah.
thing.
I got a real good deal on that truck. The guy, this was before the pandemic where prices started going crazy. And the guy was trying to sell it. And I called, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Please buy my truck." He said, he said, "No one wants it because it was a 2-wheel drive with roll up windows
Ew.
and it had
Yeah.
like an aftermarket Mickey Mouse stereo in it." And I got a good deal on it. It's been a great truck. But yeah, the Ohio roads haven't been good to it. Not
Nope.
at all.
That's the
Uh,
problem.
yeah, just today we got some weird weather. It's super cold out, but it's not snow yet. and they're worried about freezing rain. And man, I went down the highway today and it's just coated with that brine, and they put some chemical in it. Man, it just eats cars to pieces.
Yeah. But doesn't that stick to the road a little better than just the salt the salt grain that they would usually just dump on the road?
I don't know. I don't think it matters. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I thought
nasty
I heard
stuff.
somewhere that brine like will actually stick to the pavement better than just like dumping salt out on the road.
Yeah, it could be. It's like when it first goes on, they'll have like a big tanker truck that looks like it's hauling gasoline, to the Shell
Right.
station. And it has those rubber hoses that just drag on the ground behind it. And it just, falls, it just pours onto the road. So there'll be like 4 stripes behind the tanker truck. It's leaving like 4 little strips of water going down the road, but it's that brine. But I've heard like they use beet juice and there's all different kinds of stuff that lowers the freezing mark of water
Right.
to prevent ice buildup. Yeah. But like, man, in the depths of winter, our highways turn white from just being coated, from all the salt being being put on the roads, or what they call it out here, ICM. Have you ever seen signs on your roads up there for ICM?
I
Stands
have
for
not.
ice clearing material.
Oh. Hmm. No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah. But like the salt, when you see them throwing salt, it's sometimes it's got like this blue hue to it.
Yes.
It's got some kind of a chemical added to it to make it even more effective.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you follow one of those trucks up here when they're dispensing it, it looks like that whole dump truck would last a mile for as much as they're putting out.
They put it out pretty heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just gets dumped on the roads.
You think of all the expense and you think of all the damage that it does. I don't know what it does to the environment. I'm sure it can't be healthy. And then, it just tears apart cars and trailers and anything that it gets on. But one day when you have a semi truck jackknife sliding right at you on ice, getting ready to like smash your car into a tin can, you're happy that you got all that salt on the road. It's worth it.
Exactly.
It's worth it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then when your kids start driving and all too, it's like, yeah, I think it's a good trade off, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what happened to me, Dan. And, but I did wind up getting a free meal out of it. The guy's like, hey,
Oh,
want anything to eat? And I
wow.
was like, oh, that answer is always yes.
Yeah, well, that's a good deal.
Yes.
You end up getting you found a key, extra
Yeah.
key for the truck, and a meal to boot.
Yeah.
The
Uh-huh.
life of a firewood delivery service.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you learn, especially when you deliver restaurants, it's rude to say no if they offer you free food. Always got to say
Yeah,
yes.
good point. Good, very.
Yeah.
And one of the I think added perks maybe to delivering wood to restaurants.
It's the free
You might
food.
always get some food. Mm.
Yeah, you better believe it. I know which restaurants are very generous.
So you go
And
there around lunchtime.
well, it depends, there's okay, you're on to me, whatever.
I schedule my delivery to this restaurant right around 11:30 a.m.
Yeah. Huh? Oh yeah. Well, it's a personal policy. Whenever they ask, the answer is always yes.
Yes.
Uh, but there is also something else in my life as a firewood mogul here in
Uh-oh.
Northeast Ohio, where the answer is always yes. And you know what that is?
What's that?
When the log truck calls and asks, do you need logs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a big yes.
Yeah, the answer is always yes. When I was at my house, I had limited space where these logs could go. And I still remember telling loggers, no, I don't need any logs because I have anywhere to put them. And man, you learn fast. That's the wrong answer.
Never enough. There's never enough.
Yeah, there's never enough. I had an avalanche of logs last fall. I don't know what was going on with the mills, but they were all coming back. These loggers were buying them and reselling them to other people. And I had, it was 15, I think, triaxle loads of logs that came in like in the month of November last year.
Holy moly.
Yeah. And even then with my yard, I was still running out of room, but I made room for them. And it paid off because here I am again this year. I don't have any logs. The log trucks aren't coming in. And then today I got a phone call from log driver X, and he asked if I needed logs. And I says, the answer is yes.
Bring
So
him
I got
over.
logs. Yeah, I got logs delivered. That's how I get my wood, Dan.
That that's a good way to well, as long as you can keep getting your wood that way. That's a good way.
Yeah. So I buy my logs and run them through a processor. I found that as the most cost effective way, the best ROI. Do I need
Oh,
to explain what that means for all you non accountants out there
rolling
in podcast?
on ice.
Ice. Unless they put that brine down, then it's just rolling on wet pavement. ROWP. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have learned that's the way that I do it. That's the best way. It's the most profitable, the most productive I can be. You mentioned like, what else, where else would I get my logs? And that's what I avoid is the tree service. I don't go out into the woods anymore and get my own. It's just too much. And it's not as efficient. It's nice to get like a free trailer load of logs, but you got to work all day to get it.
And I am the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got actually still 15 trees I need to take down on my property. Then I got the neighbor's property, and then I have my
Oh
good
wow.
buddy Rick, who has a tree service company, and he brings me my wood for free.
Oh wow. Does he abuse you? However, like
No,
just bringing you just garbage that just ruins your day.
the first year that I met him, there may have been a few instances where that was the case, but then
Yeah.
as soon as he knew I was going to be a reliable, whatever you want to, I guess, partner, I don't know
Uh
what
huh.
the term would be, then he would actually let me know the job he had and ask me if I wanted it.
Oh wow.
And so it's nice because I'm now at the position of I can cherry pick out from what he brings me the good stuff that I use for the mini firewood, and then
Yeah.
the rest of it is just for my personal burning use.
Huh.
So it
But that
works
is
out good.
and that's a relationship that you have built over the years then, right?
Yeah, it's been about 5 years now. Yeah.
He probably at first just looked at you like you were probably just some kind of a hobbyist that wasn't that was just 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But then he saw that you're reliable and you're kind of a fun guy to be around.
Yeah, he'll tell you the story if you ever ask him how the very first time I approached him and told him that I, would take the wood from him on the job he was on, he'll say like in his mind he thought, "Yeah, all right, buddy, sure." And then he ended up bringing me 3 loads that day,
Oh wow.
and it was all oak. And then
Ugh.
ever since then, it's just been, if there would be times when he might need to get rid of something I might not necessarily want, but I'll just take it anyway because
Yeah.
that's how scratch my back, I scratch your back.
Okay. I didn't know you had that type of relationship with him, but whatever, Dan. I will remind you that this is a G-rated podcast, but whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
he's never left you like a 4 foot diameter trunk filled with black ants.
Well, there may have been a few times where I think he slipped something in his dump trailer that when I see it, he knows I'm going to be saying, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah. Oh gosh.
A big, bottom piece of a huge twisted elm or maple tree or just something.
Uh-huh. I had a logger friend of mine prank me like that. He had brought in a half of a load and it was just this giant twisted trunk of oak. It was about 10 feet in diameter, and he sat it on top of the pile, and he just looked at me with this big grin, this big awful face I was making, and he just laughed at me, and he put it back on his truck. He said, I wasn't bringing that to you. I just wanted to have some fun with you, he said.
Oh, that's yeah. I
Yeah.
think a couple times Rick has done the same for me. Is
Yeah.
he just is pranking me, ribbing me.
So I still get phone calls from homeowners. They just see that I'm a firewood business, and they call with a very generous offer that I can cut down this tree on their land and remove all the branches and clean up afterwards, and I would be allowed to keep the wood. And I just, no, thank you. I had a call 2 weeks ago from a guy who had an entire lot of oak trees, and I'm welcome to have all of them. I just have to remove everything.
Oh,
Yeah, and I was like, that's you got me confused with someone else.
yes. Starting out, there I can see sometimes where there might be an
Yes.
attractive looking offer like that. Like a neighbor says, "Hey, this tree just blew down in a storm.
Yeah.
If you want the wood, come over and clean it up."
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do that, but now that I've got so much coming in and I don't need that much anymore, yeah, some of that is falls into that. What's that category? More work than worth.
Yeah. Well, I used to do that too when I was just feeding my outdoor wood furnace. I was a wood scrounger. And, during the summertime, you drive through any neighborhood, there's people that got logs stacked out at their mailbox, which means free.
Yep.
And then word gets around, and a friend of a friend, and they call you, and they've had a blowdown, or they got this, and I would go check it out. I remember this one time, this lady offered up these trees to me, and I go to her house, and oh my gosh, it was this big, steep ravine in her backyard. It had just been literally impossible. I was like, no, no, thanks.
I'm not your guy.
Yeah. I've had people, I went to houses before where like the tree is like right next to their house, and I was like, nah, I said, I wouldn't even trust calling like a stranger off of Facebook or something. You don't know who you're going to get. I think you need a professional here because someone's going to smash your house.
Yeah, the felling of the tree or the dropping of the tree, that I don't mess with any of that ever. It's
No,
it's
I
got
don't
to
cut
be on
trees.
the ground for me to even think about it.
Yeah. I get comments on Facebook whenever I have a firewood. And you probably do too. You just put anything on there with firewood. There's always some comments coming in about you guys are just destroying our forests, with these. And I was like, nah, I don't think that's true. I don't know. There's not very many trees that get cut down solely for the purpose of firewood. They're usually culls or or they're rotted trees or they're a nuisance. For me, because of my volume, the logs that come from the loggers are usually to clean up a log stand after they've timbered it out. So we're providing a service in a way like that too.
Yeah, I think all of the various ways as a woodhound that you can acquire wood, I agree. I don't think there's very rarely any circumstance where a tree is removed solely for the purpose of just firewood. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason it has to come down, or it's part of logging. It's something other than just, hey, just for the pure sake of enjoyment, let's go cut that tree down and turn it into firewood.
I would have to agree with you. I'm sure it's happened, but I would argue that it probably doesn't happen as much as people think.
No.
Yeah. Do you have any odd times or odd places where firewood just magically appeared or opportunity for you?
Um, just sometimes like just with my neighbors. All like my one neighbor up the hill, I didn't realize he had such a big lot and so much wood available that there was like more than I could even imagine taking.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I've been pretty fortunate in the fact that once I kind of started going and getting a good network with Rick built up, I didn't have to like go woodhound, you know, like go
Yeah.
try to find it to bring it back.
Huh. So I had my weirdest time that I ever got firewood was when I worked in Cleveland, and this is on their outer belt, Route 271. It's like 6 lanes both directions. And my exit was there was a stick of it was a nice looking piece of firewood. It was it was laying on the shoulder of this major interstate. And I mean millions of cars zipping by both ways. And it sat there on this shoulder like all winter. And I saw it every time I would exit. I was like, wow, that's a nice looking piece of firewood. Oh my gosh. And one day I just thought the time was right. There wasn't that many cars out, and I pulled off onto the shoulder, and I risked my life to put this one stick of firewood in the trunk of my Mercury Sable. I got back in my car and drove off. Yeah, I did it.
I've been there. I remember driving and seeing, a limb that came down, or like the utility company had like trimmed some big branches off the side of the road to clear
Yeah.
for the power lines. And oh yeah, I've had times when, I'll pull over and throw in the back of my truck, a 5-foot 8-inch diameter stick of wood, thinking, oh my God, I just struck gold.
Yeah.
Thinking it was just so priceless. And now there's times where I'll get chunks that don't split on my splitter, and I just throw them in the ditch.
Yeah. That highway I drive on every day, it's really sparsely populated out here. A lot of forests and stuff. You don't even know who owns anything. But there's this one section where there's been some blowdowns and all. And I just look in every time I drive by, I look into the woods and I see some of these trees. They're just perfect. They would just be ideal logs to run through my processor. I just wish I had a magic wand, I could just poof it into my yard. That tree's just been there for years, just sitting there like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of wood out there. And that's what's so
There
crazy
is.
when, like, you will run at times where you don't know when you're going to get your next load of logs.
Yeah. Well, I still can grow. My business is growing. My sales are up this year, but my problem is 4 to 6 months down the road. And that's where I'm saying I'm not going to be able to grow when I get to that point. So my limiting factor is my supply.
Yep.
Firewood doesn't grow on trees, evidently.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hi, Dan, maybe let's ask some of our listeners out there to the Wood Hounds that if you have some interesting stories on wood acquisition, send us an email. Maybe we will read it on the podcast.
Yeah. Wood hounding stories. How have you wood hounded up your log supply or your firewood?
Yeah. But make sure you use the proper your, or Dan will mock you on the air here.
Yes. We need the contraction form.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, how about let's end this podcast because I gotta go, man. The weather is cold but dry, and I gotta go out and make some firewood.
I have to go down to the fulfillment center and send out some firewood.
Boy. You are just a 21st century corporation. You're using all the right buzzwords, Dan.
Yes. My KPIs are about to be met.
Yeah, you need to hire an HR department now.
Oh heavens, no! That's the last. The last thing I need is a Toby Flenderson.
Oh boy, love The Office. All right, well, Dan, let's maybe I don't know, strike up the band.
Strike up the band. Tell everyone thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Wood Hounds, your favorite and #1 firewood podcast in the world.
Yeah, and Joe and Dan here would like to thank you for listening, and if you would please consider a 5-star review for such a wonderful podcast that we bring to you every Wednesday.
We should probably quick mention, if you do want to send us that email, the email address is thewoodhounds@gmail.com.
There you go. And all of our episodes are archived on our website, Dan. And what's that?
Thewoodhounds.com.
There you go. All right, Dan. Well, let's tell everyone out there to look for
woodhounding opportunities.
And if you can't find any wood, consider
buying your wood.
There you go. Because if you have a lot of wood, you can have
a great day.